So Lieutenant Fife was under attack from devastating enemy fire, but he did not remain in the protection of his tank. In fact, he did the opposite. He exited his tank to organize troops and stop the enemy attack. He risked his life to lead his men. And he would continue to lead even after wounded. Now, Korea was not the first war for Lieutenant Tom Fife, nor would it be his last. Lieutenant Fife had actually already fought in World War II. He fought in Korea, and he fought in Vietnam. He also received 3 Purple Hearts for each of the 3 times he was wounded, once in each war. And in addition to the Silver Star from Korea, he also received another Silver Star for his service in Vietnam, and a Legion of Merit, and a Distinguished Flying Cross, and survived all that and served our great nation for 25 years. And I will say that it is my absolute honor to have retired Colonel Thomas Fife on the podcast today. Sir, thank you for coming on.
It's nice to be here, I think. I listened to that story. It brought back tears. Quite frankly, I'm upset just because of the memory of that. It was a horrible experience, but one that had to get done. And I still remember getting out of that tank and wondering why in the hell I was doing it. But something had to be done. When you see thousands of people coming at you, and you have nothing but your weapons, and the guys needed some help. They were willing to, I guess, run. I don't know. That was what they needed leadership. And that's the only thing I could think of, to get out and try to be there with them. And thank God we turned them around.
Yeah.
And we were able to stop the enemy. You can't understand what it's like to be there and having thousands of people come rushing at you. And the best you can do is shoot your tank guns and your machine guns. And they just kept coming. They just kept coming. I mean, talk about discipline. Those guys were disciplined too. And we had to get our guys together, and we did. And it was, I think I was lucky. I was damn lucky. By the way, my wounds weren't that serious. I got shot in the ass, and it closed up. The wound closed up, and so it stopped bleeding. And for all practical purposes, I was as good as new for a while. So, I mean, it wasn't that serious a wound. I mean, I'd hoped to be evacuated to Japan, but didn't work. So
your $1 million wound turned out to be like a 50-cent wound.
At least. It was, when I got wounded, I felt the blood rush into my pants, and then it stopped. So why not keep going, you know? So as far as I was concerned, the wound was over. And when I finally got to the MASH hospital, the doctor said, nothing we can do for you. It's going to work its way out or stay there forever. It eventually worked its way out, which is how I ended up being evacuated when we were up in North Korea, and got to a hospital ship, Navy hospital ship, and they took the piece of metal out of my butt, and then MacArthur just said, General MacArthur had said, we're going to be home by Christmas. Mm-hmm. So my objective was get off that hospital ship as fast as I could and get back to my unit. And of course, the Chinese hit. And so I was now trying to get back to my unit, and the Army was totally screwed up. We didn't know who was where. So I ended up flying to Pyongyang, landing in Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, and the airfield was totally surrounded by fire. We were destroying all of our equipment and whatever else. We landed our plane, the plane landed, and I had to go find my unit. And nobody knew where it was. So I got on the road and started hitchhiking. And a guy came along, happened to be a classmate of mine who was in Signal Corps. He stopped, saw me, picked me up, took me back to where he was, which was Corps headquarters. And they didn't know where in hell my outfit was. So finally, they took me back to the MASH hospital, another MASH hospital. And the MASH hospital knew where my unit was. And they took me back to my unit in an ambulance. Now, I wasn't wounded. It was just a way to get me back to my unit. I still remember those days. A terrible experience, but fun.
It's hard for people to understand that, and I have that discussion with people a lot when you're saying, hey, this was the worst time of my life and also the best time of my life at the same time.